You wake up, slowly open your eyes, glance at the clock, get yourself together, and rush to turn on your computer. You sit down and the day already seems perfect, but wait, what the heck? Something seems off. Either you're greeted by a plain black screen with a message about a missing boot disk, or, which is more common on newer motherboards, the computer shows a big blue window and rudely throws you into the BIOS. So what's going on? You have a brand new SSD and, well, everything was working just yesterday. You keep restarting your computer over and over, but it doesn't help. Well, it's not going to fix itself. Clearly, something is wrong with the drive, no matter what brand it is. It also doesn't matter if it's a cheap 2.5-inch SSD or a super expensive NVMe. All modern solid-state drives have this in common. They can just fail like that, out of the blue, without any warning at all. That's just the nature of NAND memory. You'll probably get a new drive under warranty, but what about your data? Family photo albums collected over years, important documents, and hours configuring your system just right. No one can replace that. It's gone. Your friend on the stream might say, "My SSD died, all my data's gone." Oof, that's rough, but I hope
that my SSD died, all my data is gone. Oof, that's rough.
What?
You think your drive will never let you down like that? Think again. Here are my 2 drives that failed in the last few months. The 1 terabyte Kingston worked for many years and served its time, but this 2 terabyte Samsung was barely used and still had 98% of its life left. And yet one day while working, a blue screen popped up and the drive was gone. 2 terabytes of data were lost as well. You might think your SSD is flawless, especially from such a top brand, so it shouldn't fail soon. Hopefully that's true, but don't be surprised if one day and much sooner than you expected, you end up really disappointed. Failing drives are truly a real plague, but that's still nothing compared to the next equally serious threat. Malicious software is multiplying faster today than ever before. In the past, you had to be a talented coder. Today, with the help of open, unrestricted AI models, anyone with a bit of motivation can create a keylogger or ransomware. Faking a well-known website is just a matter of a few well-crafted prompts. You try to log in, you download an update, and a moment later, the screen tells you that all your data has been encrypted. That's how ransomware works. You have 48 hours to transfer, 200,000 zlotys worth of Bitcoin. If you don't have that much or you don't want to pay, well, it's simple. You lose everything on all connected drives. Period. And just like that, years of work are gone. But tell me, wouldn't it be easier to just open a drawer, take out the external drives, just restore the backup? They say hindsight is 20/20, but that's only true for those who don't watch valuable content. You're already here, so you can prevent it. I know that the topic of backups really isn't the most exciting, but let these 2 NVMe drives be the best warning for everyone watching this. Don't throw them away just because they're now part of my display case, where I keep older or dead components. Although I was obviously sorry to lose such a fast and reliable drive, I put a new one in quadrants to replace the old one. I restored the backup and the problem was solved. But do you also have such protection? If not, this video will teach you in a few minutes how to create, automate, and safely store such backups. This is Pavel, and you're watching the TechManiac HD channel. Welcome. This video is available thanks to support from the GVG platform. If you're still struggling with that annoying message reminding you to activate, go ahead and visit the link in the description. You'll receive the purchased key within a few minutes, and all you need to do is paste it into the activation settings. This will not only make your copy of Windows genuine, but also allow you to upgrade to Windows 11 without any problems. You can activate and link the Office suite to your account just as easily, and with the code TMHD you'll get an extra 20% discount, which can increase to 30% during various holidays and events. Stop overpaying and visit the website now. Before we click anything, 30 seconds of theory that will protect you from the most common mistake. A backup that disappears along with a failing drive. A backup compresses your system, files, and settings into a single image file, and here, there is an absolutely ironclad rule. This file must be stored on a completely different physical drive. If you make a backup but save it on another partition of the same drive, you actually don't have any backup at all, because when the drive suffers a physical failure, the backup will also be unrecoverable. In the case of a ransomware attack, it's actually even worse, because even if the backup was on a second physical drive but mounted in the computer, it will also get encrypted. That's why the only reasonable and cheapest choice for home backup is an external drive, which you disconnect and put in a safe place after making the backup. A traditional hard drive, that is an HDD, will work best for this. Yes, they are slower than SSD variants, but not only do they have a much lower price per gigabyte, but most importantly, they can sit in a closet for years and your data won't disappear from them. Unfortunately, SSDs have the drawback that if you don't connect them to power for a longer period of time, they can lose data. I won't go into technical details here because this isn't the time or place for that, but I'll just say that SSDs store information as electrical charges. When such a drive sits unused for many months or even years, the voltage level in the memory cells drops to zero and the data gets corrupted. Yes, the drives simply become empty. That's why it's worth choosing a reliable hard drive for this purpose. Of course, remember that HDDs are mechanical. They are neither eternal nor indestructible. A fall from a height, strong vibrations, or a powerful magnet can kill such drives in a second. If you have absolutely critical data, always follow the golden rule. 2 copies on 2 different media, with one stored in a different location, for example at a family member's place, just in case of fire or burglary. For a standard home backup, 1 drive in a drawer is still the most effective and, after all, the cheapest available protection method. When it comes to hard drives, I personally most often use the WD or Seagate brands. In the video description, I've included a few proven models that you can consider later. Anyway, you start by downloading the program, and a direct link to it can be found in the video description. Our main character today is Hazelio Backup Suite. It's a completely free and extremely successful successor to the legendary Macrium Reflect, which unfortunately no longer has a free version. The manufacturer's website is in English, but don't worry, the program itself will be fully in Polish. Here's a small tip already at the download stage. For computers with Intel and AMD processors, you choose the first version, which is x86/x64. If on the other hand you have newer hardware with a Qualcomm processor, Snapdragon, or an NVIDIA chip, you choose the version labeled as ARM64. If in the future this program also hides the backup function behind a paywall, meaning it suddenly starts requiring payment, don't worry. In the pinned comment under this video, you'll always find a link to my website with an update and a reference to another completely free program. If the program greets you in English and with a dark theme, just click the menu icon in the top right corner, and there you can easily switch both the language to Polish and the appearance of the program. While you're here, it's also worth going into the main settings and changing the default backup compression level to high. It's true that this will make the process take a little longer, but with today's multi-core processors, the bottleneck will still be the external drive. This change will let you save anywhere from several dozen to even several hundred gigabytes of space. It's definitely worth doing. Now you need to prepare a rescue flash drive. On one hand, it's not absolutely necessary just to make a backup, but trust me on this, if your drive fails physically and your computer won't start, this device will save your skin. It will let you launch an independent recovery environment and restore your files without needing a working Windows system. To create such a rescue drive, any USB flash drive will do, even an older one. It doesn't even need to have a large capacity. 4 or 8 gigabytes will be more than enough here. If you don't have a spare USB flash drive on hand, as always, I'll leave links in the description to reliable models, including waterproof and reinforced ones. In the Program menu, go to the Tools tab and then click the Rescue Media icon. In the window that appears, make sure to check the option Enable Windows Web UEFI CA 2023 support. Thanks to this, the flash drive will boot without any problems on the latest motherboards and computers, without the need to hassle with changing security options in the BIOS. Next, click the Next button. Preparing the environment will only take a moment, and then you'll move on to the main window for creating the emergency media. And here's a small note. If you're already a bit of an advanced user and you know what Ventoy is, you can select the option to save the ISO file here. Otherwise, just choose the USB option. Select your connected flash drive from the list and click the Continue button. At this point, a warning window will appear informing you that the selected drive will be completely formatted. If you've made sure that you don't have any important files there and you agree to completely erase the drive, then of course you click the Yes button here. The entire writing process will take anywhere from a few to a dozen or so minutes. And here's one more note, because yes, flash drives still use flash memory, so they suffer from exactly the same issue as an SSD. But this isn't about storing valuable data, it's just a rescue tool. Even if after years it stops working, you really don't lose anything because if needed, you can create a new flash drive on any other computer in 5 minutes. When the rescue flash drive is safely stored in the drawer, it's time to create the actual backup. You plug your external drive into the computer and select the backup tab from the menu on the left. The first option is absolutely essential. After clicking it, the program will automatically select all the partitions necessary for your computer to start properly. This includes the hidden boot partitions as well. On computers that have multiple drives, I have as many as 7 in my case, manually finding and selecting all of them would be a nightmare, and it's easy to make a mistake. This way, things get much easier. With just one click, it creates a complete image of your work environment, settings, and all installed programs. The second option, on the other hand, is to make a copy of any entire disk or partition. This is the perfect choice if, in addition to the main disk, you want to back up additional partitions or even a completely separate, physically different disk in your computer. This feature packs everything you select here into a single image file. The third icon is for backing up files only. It allows you to precisely manage what you want to copy. While before you could only select the system itself, and in the second option, the entire disks, here you can select only the most important folders or even individual files that matter to you the most. This option makes a lot of sense if you have a folder with documents or a family photo album on one partition, which you absolutely never want to lose. But right next to it, on the same drive, there's a folder with 1 terabyte of games, which just doesn't make sense to copy. That's why you should carefully consider which option you want to choose. Anyway, regardless of which type of backup you choose, the next step is to select the destination location. You click here on the small folder icon and select your connected external USB drive. Now you go into Backup Settings to the Encryption tab, and here you must enter a password that you will actually be able to remember. This is absolutely crucial because without this password, anyone who gets hold of your drive will be able to read all the data from it, and you definitely don't want that. Once you set the password, click OK, then continue, and the process will start. Of course, creating the first full backup can take anywhere from several minutes to even a few hours. However, you don't have to just sit and wait. Pay attention to the bottom of the progress window. There you have 3 very useful options that you can manage on the fly while the program is running. First of all, from the Check Image menu, select Complete Mode. Thanks to this, right after the backup is finished, the program will automatically verify the integrity of the file. You'll be sure that the backup was made correctly and will work 100% in case of a failure. Next, you can expand the power plan and select Shutdown. This is the optimal solution if you're running this process overnight or when you're leaving for work. On the other hand, if you don't want to interrupt your computer use, just move the priority slider to the left to the lowest level. Hazelio will just continue creating the backup in the background with minimal CPU load, and you'll be able to keep working or even play games without noticeable drops in performance. I'd also like to draw your attention to the option called Backup Schedule. It allows you to schedule automatic full, incremental, and differential backups. It's worth knowing that this process can indeed be automated. As I mentioned at the beginning, the best and most effective protection against viruses or disk encryption by ransomware is physically disconnecting it from the computer. But if your disk is already safely stored in a drawer, then an automatic schedule won't work remotely because it obviously can't work over Wi-Fi. That's why I recommend building a new habit. Once in a while, for example during your Sunday morning coffee, you take out the disk, plug it in, click the option for an incremental backup in the program, then unplug it and put it back in the drawer. This incremental backup takes much less time. Of course, there's also an alternative. After performing the first full backup to the external drive, you can set up a schedule, for example, to another drive permanently installed in your computer. Such a setup will still save you in case of a physical failure of your main system drive or various problems with Windows. But remember that only the disconnected drive lying in your drawer will protect you from a ransomware attack. Great, the backup is done, but you also need to know what to do when a disk failure or malware appears on your computer screen. Exactly, just having a spare tire in your car doesn't mean it will change itself. So what do you need to do? If the drive has physically failed, we throw the old one out and put in a new one. After all, we can only restore the backup to a working device. However, if ransomware demanded a ransom or your computer won't start because of a virus, your drive is probably still fully functional. You just need to restore the backup onto it. To do this, insert the previously created rescue USB drive into the port. If the computer doesn't automatically boot into the recovery environment, try bringing up the boot menu. Depending on your computer's brand, I've prepared a list of keys you need to press repeatedly right after turning it on. If the USB drive still doesn't show up on the list, unplug it and plug it into a different USB port. For desktop computers, it's best to use one at the back, directly connected to the motherboard. Often that's enough. That's why you should definitely test it today. Only then will you be absolutely sure that everything works as it should. Only after the program starts from the rescue USB drive do you connect the external drive. In the third tab, select the option to search for the image to restore. You'll see that even though Windows isn't running, the software is designed to resemble the environment you're used to as much as possible. The interface here looks just like the System File Explorer. From the tree, you select your external drive and point to the backup file. Then you enter the password. Of course, only if you actually set one when creating the backup. Although only a system backup was created, the program also allows you to recover a specific partition or even any drive. However, here I choose the system mode and move on to the next step. Be careful here, because it's easy to make a mistake at this stage. Here you indicate the target drive, which is the location where the backup will actually be restored. In my example, I select disk 0 here, which is completely empty and doesn't even have any allocated space yet. After clicking the Continue button, the option to change the disk layout will appear. If you replace the drive with a new and larger one, the program allows you to reduce the size of individual partitions here, automatically creating unallocated space on their right side. However, at this level, you can't assign a drive letter to the new space. However, if you want to use it later, you'll find a link to a short video in the pinned comment where I show how to create a new partition from this free space in just a minute, but that's later in a running Windows system. Anyway, after you confirm, the program will start the process of restoring the backup. This will take a while. In my case, it took a little over 21 minutes. Next, you restart, and there you go, your Windows is exactly as you left it. Wallpaper, programs, family albums, everything in its place. So, how is it? Is everything working? If so, I have a small request. Please check if that thumbs up under the video is already lit up. Also, leave a comment with your own story of losing important data. Let others see that these things really happen and that a backup is really the only thing that can save you. But our work isn't over yet, so let's get back to the topic. There's still one absolutely crucial thing left here. If your drives were encrypted before, after restoring the backup, they are no longer encrypted. That's normal and doesn't mean something went wrong. The backup was made from within a running system, so the data was already decrypted when it went into the archive. Now you have a choice. Either turn encryption back on or stay without it. If you want to restore it, the method depends on your system version. In Windows 10 and 11 Home, you'll find the device encryption feature in the main system settings. Just one switch and it's enabled. On the other hand, in Windows 10 and 11 Pro, which is the professional version, you have full BitLocker. You go into the control panel, look for BitLocker drive encryption and click Turn On. In both cases, the physical TPM module on the motherboard will get a new correct key. The old one will be overwritten here. No conflicts, no threats of being locked out. When you turn encryption back on, the system will simply generate a new recovery key. In the Home version, it will automatically save it to your Microsoft account. In the Pro version, a wizard with options will appear. If you are using a local account, for example, with the LTS or LTSC version, you really need to save the key somewhere manually, print it out, or copy it to a USB drive. You can find details about BitLocker, how it works, how to use it, and how to properly secure your computer with it in my other video. The link is, of course, in the description. There you'll also find a short, straightforward guide on what to do if your computer unexpectedly asks you to unlock the drive with a 48-digit password. If you don't want BitLocker, that's perfectly fine, and you absolutely have the right to make that choice. After all, when paired with fast NVMe drives, it can put a heavy load on the processor and slow down the whole computer. But now, even if you don't enable it, the system will work normally, just without that extra layer of security, and you really don't have to do anything else. Remember to share this video with your friends, and see you next time.